Oh, Mak Mazan, nampak handsome oh. Pakai kot pula. Nur Haili.
Yes.
Banyak sombong sekarang.
Mana ada.
Langsung tak 3-4 hari tak ada panggil oh.
Busy.
Semua orang sudah lupa sama saya sekarang.
Busy bee. Mana gambar?
Gambar apa?
Backdrop?
Backdrop?
Okey dah.
Okey lah. Okey lah.
Wah.
Makan ni.
Cantik.
Memanglah cantik. Wah, Mak Mazan, handsome oh. Chef Odi?
Hi, morning.
Morning, chef. This one is Master Chef Odi from Penang. Ini Mak Mazan ni, kasih unmute.
Bila nanti
Okay, now I need to shut up first. I need to shut up. Also, these old people.
Minran Tata Fibam.
One more.
Okay, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to our great speakers, Chef Odi from the President of Penang Chef Association and our Fellow of the Asia Center for Tourism and Technology, Encik Uzaidi Udanis, who's also the President of the Malaysian Tourism Council, my good friend from Resorts World, Tuan Haji Mat Mazan, and also Mr. Dave Nathan, and the other speakers like Dr. Razif, and also Dr. Roshdi from New York. So this morning we are here today. This is our, I think, 9th session of having this webinar, and today we do it in collaboration with Penang Chef Association. We call it Culinary Tourism. Last week we had one with the National Cancer Society and also in Batam, and this Thursday we will be having in the island of Bintan, and also we will be having on Friday in Pahang. So ladies and gentlemen, this event is brought forward by DHS Hospitality Academy and iPORTAL, and we started this event or webinars in June, and till date we have already attracted about 1,000 over participants into our webinar session, and we have more to come for in the month of December and also next year. So without further ado, I would like to call upon Encik Uzaidi Udanis, the President of Malaysian Tourism Council and also the Fellow of the Asia Tourism Center of Technology. So over to you, Encik Uzaidi.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Sri. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim dan Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera dan good morning everybody. First of all, I would like to thanks to the organizer for organizing this event. This is a fantastic, essentially right timing for us to recover. One of the initiatives for us to recover our tourism industry. I'd like to apologize because I'm on my way rushing to my press conference. We'll be organizing by together with Selangor State Government on our next events of the Gold Award. We'll be organizing it by next month. Therefore, I have to use my mobile for me to log in to this event. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the borders has opened. The international borders also has opened. I hope that more countries will be opening up their borders so that their people can be able to reach out or to able to visit Malaysia. As you know, Malaysia is we have a lot of products. You name it, all kind of products here. But sometimes we are so diluted. What kind of products that we are going to promote? But I feel that the culture of Malaysia is one of the main selling point for Malaysia. Culture is very important for us. If you're talking about dish, everybody, everybody can go to all over the world. They have their own dish. If you're talking about mountains, if you're talking about landscaping, if you're talking about shopping, there's so many shopping areas, shopping centers all over, or shopping malls all over the world. But here we're talking about the foods. The foods has a very very important segment for us to promote. As you know, Malaysia is we have a lot of our foods which come from all the varieties from all the cultures, the Chinese, the Malays, and the Indians, and all over. Therefore, when we visit Malaysia, you can find anything in Asia or anything in the world that has that we have here in Malaysia. That's the reason why we feel that is food or culinary tourism is undersell. Is still a best kept secret. We don't want best kept secret. We want it to be exposed. Therefore, we need to make sure how we can promote culinary tourism in an effective way. You know very well that a lot of our foods has been what they call it, been credited by other countries, especially the neighboring countries. Here we are, the foods are original, but sometimes when we go to international market, it's been known by from that particular countries. We need to make sure that marketing is very important. Marketing is effectively and consistently, and looking for good partners. Therefore, I'm looking forward on the outcome of this webinar on how the industry players like us can move forward to promote culinary tourism, which is one of the, I think the most important segment for us to recover, for us to use to recover and to move forward in our tourism industry. Therefore, I would like to end this my welcoming speech by saying that giving all my support to the organizer and to all the panelists and to all the speakers, and we hope that we can work together and not just a webinar, but working together to make sure that Malaysia is a food heaven, is a culinary heaven and gastronomy heaven for us to welcome all our tourists. Thank you again, and thank you for the opportunity, for giving me the opportunity, and we're looking forward to work with you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to you, Dr. Sri.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much, Encik Uzaidi, for the very inspiring speech. As all of us know, Malaysia has a tagline, Malaysia is truly Asia. So I believe that we have a lot of food here that is from Asia and also Malaysian food. So I think this is something that is very interesting. And now we will hear from the president of Penang Chef Association, Master Chef Odi, who has been very supportive and who comes from Penang, has done a lot of work during the pandemic, providing free food, assisting the frontliners, very active. So I hand over to you, Chef Odi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you everybody for joining this webinar. I think finally we get to see each other again after so long. It's been so long that we can manage to travel. I just came back from Selangor to attend a culinary competition. I was the judge there. Finally, I get to see everybody that is all the judges and all the participants. They can now able to come back to see each other again after so long. You know, it's been 24 months since we it's been very challenging for our industry and our hospitality industry. So it's been hit hard. But now I can see Penang is slowly recovering. As you can see, this is culinary tourism. So Penang is a very great, called Penang capital, food capital of Malaysia, of Asia. So you can get everybody to come to Penang to enjoy the food. But with I think our state opening up, I think those who come to Penang can see the nasi kandar stalls. The queue for nasi kandar stall is amazing. I tell you that I never seen so many people queuing up for nasi kandar. So I want to take this opportunity to invite everybody to come to Penang and start enjoying our hawker food again, and also our restaurants and our nasi kandar, our nasi Melayu. We have all type of cuisine here in Penang. So thank you everybody for this great session. I hope it will be a fruitful session. Then we can see each other in person again. So we can, instead of doing a web seminar, we can do it live in person. So thank you very much, Dr. Sri.
Thank you, Chef Odi. Thank you. You can be rest assured that you will see me in Penang soon.
All right, good.
Because
That's good.
I'm one of the ones that come all the way from KL to eat nasi kandar in Penang and go back. Yeah, this is something that I mean, food is something that is very interesting, and people always travel far. As I know that during the Ramadan month, Malaysians, they go down to Oman to just to experience the buffet. So this is something that is very interesting. So thank you very much, Chef Odi, and we look forward with more collaboration with the Penang Chef Association and with yourself, and we believe that we can do a lot of greater things ahead. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have
Thank you.
Dr. Roshdi from New York. So a very good evening, Doctor, and he is the founder and CEO of iPORTAL. Uh, iPortal is the brainchild of Dr. Roshdi, something very different. And with his guidance, iPortal today, we are in many countries around the world. And we have moved into Indonesia in a big way. So I hand over to you, Doctor, to say a few words.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Sri, very much. Thank you for inviting me to share a few words with you all. It's a pleasure and honor for us to be here, to participate, to learn, and to contribute. When I was asked to say a few words on this particular webinar, I took a step back and I looked at ambassadors. If we take a step back and look at ambassadors, global ambassadors, what are they? One ambassador is sports. Everyone's heard of Ronaldo. It doesn't matter if you're in a developed country or frontier country. Sports is a great ambassador. Another ambassador is music, entertainment, either Hollywood, Bollywood, or Nollywood. So those are great ambassadors. But what about food? I think food is probably the most important ambassador and the least spoken. Why? It's, yes, part of gastrotourism, which is a term that has been coined by others and talked about. But if you take a step back and look at food, and the story tells you the following. It tells about a history of a place. You know, Penang, I had the pleasure to come to Penang a number of times when I lived in Malaysia. The food is absolutely incredible, and I look forward to enjoying that. So, food in Penang, the history about Penang. It's a trading hub. It's an epicenter of a lot of spices from India. So the food is very authentic. So history is one. The second thing is food also breaks barriers. When you're sitting down across the table with someone you haven't met, because you're part of a group outing, you find many things in common that you have with respect to food. It also bridges cultures. You know, in the US, where I was raised and lived and worked most of my life, we've got Italian food, Chinese food, Thai food, Mexican food, Ethiopian food. But one rarely hears about Malaysian food. To me, that's baffling, because I think America and Americans would appreciate Malaysian food, especially food that has a history from Penang. So it builds and bridges cultures. It also brings people together. You know, people, when they get together, who haven't known each other, when they start talking about their life, food is one of the things that they like, whether it's talking about appetizer, a main course, or the dessert, or the drinks. So food is a conversation that can basically keep going in the whole night, and before you know it, you get to know the other party. It also bends the arc of hospitality. I think this is an extremely important point. You know, when we talk about hospitality and tourism, we're always talking about destinations, you know, where you stay, the amenities at the location, and if that amenity has a halal food. We need to also look at it from the point of view of the tastiness of that food. as I said, I've been to Penang, I've been to a number of states in Malaysia, and there's something about the water in Penang that makes the food taste a whole lot better. That's been my experience and it's been confirmed by others. So in conclusion, what I'd like to say is this event is important because it sets the foundation of food being a spark, an important spark in the ingredient, in the reset of tourism, hospitality, and travel. And Malaysia has got to tell its story, more specifically Penang, beyond its borders, because I think there is an open world with a variety of taste buds that people are waiting to get teased with food from Malaysia, more specifically Penang. So I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me the privilege and the honor to share with you my few thoughts. Thank you, Dr. Sri. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosti. Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon in Malaysia to try the food in the coming months. And what you mentioned is very true. In Malaysia, we can get different types of food, and always Penang is known for the heaven of food, like what Chef Odi mentioned. And food is something that is it can unite people, unite races, and we can see this. We can see this exciting thing. So without further ado, I would like to call upon a very good friend of mine. His name is Tuan Haji Muhammad Mazan, who worked with me in Resorts World. We worked together. He was the food and beverage manager. I was the person in charge of training. We worked along very well. But I left Resorts World and moved on, and he left Resorts World and worked with hospital in the healthcare industry for catering. And he was also based in Jeddah with Tabung Haji to help the Malaysian people who are there on food. So I will hand over this floor to Mat Mazan, and just a reminder, can the speakers or the panelists please mute, because it is a bit noisy. So I hand over to Mat Mazan, a great man, a good friend of mine, and over to you, Mat Mazan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sri Kumar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to all, especially with praise and respect to Dr. Rusdi, Uzaidi, and also Chef Odi, and also fellow speakers. Yeah, it is indeed, I feel very honored being invited to do my presentation in this forum. So hopefully with the time allocated to me, I will be able to share some of my presentation based on the point that I have highlighted. I am representing my Mother Center of Excellence and also Intensive Energy Stadium Berhad, very well-known training provider. And also with this, we are able to actually to share what are the focal point that culinary tourism is all about. Yeah. Okay. Just a brief one. Tourism actually contributed to a very huge Malaysian economic, having over 57.1 million domestic tourists, generating 37.4 billion, or equivalent to US 11 billion, and also attracted 27 million international tourist arrival in 2014. It's about a decade ago. Of course, of late, for the last 24 months, we are experiencing a very bad tourist activities due to the pandemic, COVID-19 emergent in this in the current world. Okay. On top of that, as you can see, in 2012, United Nations World Tourism Organization listed Malaysia as the 10 most visited countries. that was about almost 9 years ago. Nevertheless, Malaysia still being one of the most visited country in the Far East and also in this region. World Travel Tourism Council declared Malaysia as a food destination of unrealized potential, with the main strength as a availability of a vast range of diverse attraction to suit all tastes, relatively affordable at affordable price. Meaning we have nice beaches, we have mountain resort, or we have natural wonderland where people intend to make a visit and stay for a longer period to experience the Malaysian kind of nature and hospitality. Okay, culinary tourism has slowly emerged as a potential sector from there on after medical tourism. Medical tourism still now Malaysia remain one of the much sort of places for treatment. Okay, in June 2021, Malaysia has a total of 3,452 hotels with a total number of 261,182 rooms. This has been updated quarterly. Of course, a number has decreased, resulted from the current MCO and enforcement, which has restricted people to travel. I don't have an exact figure, the available room right now, but we have been experiencing quite a number of closure hotels in some of the prominent tourist attraction area. Okay, back to culinary tourism, the topic that I'm going to touch on within the permitted time given, the focus is on the food. What is called culinary tourism all about? The focus is on food as an attraction, and food tourism and travel tourism. What are the benefits? Strengthen the economic and social development, Malaysian infrastructure contribution to the growth, and also I would like to touch on the halal tourism, which has been actually currently rapidly being a much sort of kind of tourism segment. And the role of the government sector, private organization, and academic institution in actually enhancing the culinary and tourism sector. Culinary tourism is a focus on food as an attraction for those seek adventure experience. It is indeed a destination for tourism. One of the most sort of tourism sector where people are looking forward to taste the food, whereby Malaysian as a multi-racial country with a people has multi varieties of food. Yeah, we have take Penang for example, which is actually a paradise for food. So everybody, you can have everything Malaysian food in Penang, but you name it, you just Google it, you know where to get the food in Penang. Okay, new culinary tourism is greatly emphasized with a variety to offer, focus experience of dining and tasting of new food as a commercial entertainment. Okay, food tourism focus on food product that extend what we eat, that and also it include how we eat, where and when we eat. It also food to where the avid food connoisseur or the food lovers to learn about the local and various ethnic food. And it's provide experience of consumption expression of food and beverage that values the history, the origin, the culture, and also the particular region and state. I remember at earlier opening, Chef Odi has mentioned, Uzaidi has mentioned that there are quite numbers of Malaysian specialty food being hijacked, I mean, being so-called claimed by the other country around our region. Take for instance, satay, you know, but then it's still because of the diversity and because of the movement and the movement of people, migration, that cause actually the food that belong to, I mean, it's very subject to for us to dispute about which belong to which country or which country. But nevertheless, where you, all those are belong to ethnic group, say where you can get it in here in Malaysia or in Singapore, in Malaysia, or even at southern Thailand. Yeah. Okay, related to all activities that use food as a means of connection between people, place, and time. As food tourism is progressing, it is common to find it a culinary term known as gastronomy tourism. Okay. Food tourism depicts several models of gastronomy-related activities. It is creative market because it embraces different representative of food, beverage, and hospitality. So what are those representative? That food that we can get from the restaurant, at the farm, at the market, artisan producer, hotel and motel, even street food vendor, and also food truck, as it is now quite being popular, and also a chef table, they call it, so call it, or chef specialty, and also galleries and any related to it. Okay, what are the benefits? Food tourism will focus on cultural immersion. It is a formidable connecting Malaysian economy and social development. Is in addition to being unique and memorable for travelers. Yeah, there are people travel, as Dr. Sri Kumar said, he is willing to travel all the way from his hometown to KL, to Penang, just to savor the nasi kandar. So there are people where they look forward. Distance is not a matter, but because they are liking to certain food, they are willing to travel that far. Okay, to strengthen food tourism, it is necessary to connect people in a more integrated way with destination. Food does it very well in this aspect. Okay. Culinary tourism, food tourism has become one of the motivating factors for people to travel, thus creating food tourists searching for authentic and also new culinary experience. Often it's not about what type of food that we eat. It is more about the fact that when we go to a new place, we seek to a new food experiences. Do people love those people? There are many people, food adventurous. They love to try, any food of the specific places where they visit. By combining these two edible experiences, culinary tourism offers both local and tourists alike an authentic taste of place. Okay. Coming to infrastructure, what Malaysian has actually infrastructure, telecommunication networks, halal tourism, and the growth. Malaysian infrastructure of transport network is one of the most developed in Asia, with road network covering 403,000 kilometers, and we have a good air, sea, and rail network link. Telecommunication network with 4.8 million fixed line subscriber, and 30 million cellular subscriber has made food tourists and tourism sector a rapid growth industry. So, okay, focus on halal tourism. It is Islam and Muslim friendly tourism now has become a rapidly growing sector in the travel and tourism market. Muslims will travel to places or destinations that meet to their need in line with basic of their religion in terms of diet, dress, ritual, and also tourism environment itself. Type of tourism free from alcohol, pork, nudity, gambling, and other disliked behavior prohibited in our Islam. Food being much concerned, thus a special attention of providing halal food has become another food business segment. More, as you can see now, more Sharia compliant type of accommodation. There are hotels which are now going for Sharia compliant in relation to Islamic practices, has surfaced in tandem with this halal tourist demand. So Malaysia as a halal holiday destination, according to a survey by Singapore-based Muslim travel specialist Chris Trading, Malaysia is the world friendliest destination for Muslim travelers. It is indeed now, even as a survey, it was just a recent survey. The survey evaluate countries in terms of their attractiveness to the needs of Muslim travelers, which include the presence and accessibility of halal restaurant and eateries, apart from provision of prayer rooms at airport, shopping mall, and hotel. In Malaysia in particular, with the active participation of JAKIM, a Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, which is the agency responsible for Islamic affairs, including halal certification. More and more hotel kitchen were awarded with certification after complying with requirement, thus culinary tourism fast gaining popularity. Halal as a worldwide influence to culinary tourism. Muslim travel market was estimated to be worth US 140 billion in 2019 before COVID-19 pandemic. Japan and Taiwan, apart from China, has been keen on tapping this segment in adapting their services to take into account the unique faith-based need for Muslim travelers. The top 10 in order were country Malaysia, United Arab Emirates, second Turkey, then Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, which is actually a non-Muslim country, and Morocco, Jordan, Qatar, and Tunisia. This is a much more place visited by the Muslim travelers. The typical Muslim consumer are now younger, educated, and have more disposable income, thus has inclination for travel. Consequently, the travel and hospitality industry has now become one of the largest markets within the Muslim consumer space. Malaysia is seen to remain as a potential favorite destination for Muslim tourists. The ability to meet the significant standard in culinary profession is much a challenge. Okay, supporting role ministries and private sectors. You can see a role by Ministry of Human Resources through its Skill Development Division is a clear evidence of effort in enhancing the growth of future of our culinary and tourism by formulating and designing the occupational framework for the National Occupational Skill Standard, NOSH. This has created a pathway for school leavers and younger teenagers pursuing for their career and seeing positive career growth in this both sector. Many high learning institutions offer culinary and tourism studies from a lower level certification SKM, Sijil Kemahiran Malaysia, or to the higher diploma. The yearly and biannually event of World Skill Competition by Jabatan Pembangunan Kemahiran, Skill Development Division of Human Resources Ministry is one of the most promising way in attracting for this career. Okay. And also Ministry of Art and Culture has been aggressively promoting domestic tourism after a long layoff, which can be seen benefiting the food business. And also not the least, I mean, not forget to mention also Malaysian Association of Hotel is another source of promoting the entire tourism sector. With that, Dr. Sri and fellow speakers and those present, I concluded my presentation with a note of thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Mazan. Thank you very much for the information on culinary tourism. Your thoughts on this. It is very interesting to know or to see that Malaysia is one of the number one destination for Muslim friendly is a Muslim friendly destination. It is great. It is something that we should be proud of, and we hope that more visitors will come to Malaysia to experience our food and also experience Malaysia. Okay, here we have a gentleman called Dave. Dave, who has known to me in the last few months through a common friend called Rose, and I've been talking to Dave, and very interesting. A man a gentleman who has been opening up restaurants, involved in designs of restaurants, from the layout to the menu, and also to the service of the restaurant. And Dave is also a certified hotel administrator, CHA, from the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and he has been in the industry for a good 30 years, and in various parts of Malaysia. My last discussion with him, he also worked in Bintan. So without further ado, I would like to call upon Dave and to say a few things on this event. Dave, over to you.
Good morning, Dr. Sri Kumar, and good morning to all fellow industrial professional players of tourism. Well, first of all, can you all hear me? Can you all hear me, Doctor?
I can hear you, Dave. I can hear you.
Good. I'll carry on now. Okay, salam Muslim, salam sejahtera. First of all, when you say of culinary tourism, you're talking about Penang chapter. So Penang food trip or food road pathway is full. We have to understand the culture, the ethnic. And of course, with all the food technologies of the domestic food and a lot of upcoming new cafes and new restaurants in Penang, Penang has established itself as a trademark for a food discovery world in Malaysia. So 2 choices of food in every tourist when you come down to Malaysia will be Penang and Malacca. So Penang has the ethnic of the Indian Muslim for the nasi kandar, the Indians for the South Indian food, and the Babas for their Penang Nonya food. So we have to be really involved in this culinary for Penang. Of course, a lot of nasi kandar stores, a lot of Nonya stores, shops, restaurants, but we have to understand the health and risk management of how these handlers are handling these restaurants or these cafes or downtown shops. So cleanliness is very important, which I observe in Penang, which is still under par. So I believe the agencies or the KKM should play a role. So at least the travelers, the tourists coming down to Penang will be safe and will not be having any food poisoning or will not be thinking of any negative view of our food. Yes, the food is great, but our hygiene also we have to maintain. And number 2, I noticed that a lot of our stalls or shops which are ethnic in culture, the pricing factors are not really viewed to the public. We should emphasize on this to have a confidence on the tourists, either international or either domestic tourists, to be confident on what they are buying and what they are paying for, to avoid another scenario like what happened in Langkawi. So I believe with the heritage of the Penang and the Penang government, the food trail in Penang is really picking up. But we can do a lot of food promotions, food demonstrations, food program, exchange program, where even the local domestics will love to know what is inside the nasi kandar curry or nasi kandar paste. So no one is educating our local tourists or international tourists what is a nasi kandar origin and all about. We just serve nasi kandar as nasi kandar, but we are not educating people what is inside the nasi kandar. There's another good opportunity of culinary to bring in another tourist to go on field tour to learn about this nasi kandar or Nonya food or local Indian food, the real hands down secrets and recipes where they can have a cooking demonstration. So I think this will be quite useful for our industry, Doctor. And then we have a lot of heritage buildings in Penang. So I've been observing and doing a lot of research on Penang. That's why I'm opening up a few cafes for some investors. So I've studied on these Penang cafes. They are really upgrade and much more better than KL standards. You see, the latest trending cakes in Penang, I've noticed was the cakes with watermelon slice in the middle, which in KL cafes, we're not doing that. So there's something great. And when I shared it with all my friends and all my bakers, even my hotel pastry chefs, they say, Dave, this is something interesting in Penang. It's a small cafe and the business is doing very well in these cakes. And the cakes concepts are very good. So I believe with the proper guidance, proper health and risk management, proper training, proper uniforms for the nasi kandar people, the Indian restaurants, our culinary trip to Penang can bring to a higher chapter. We can have a new culinary road to a village culture. So this is Doctor, I think this is what I'd like to emphasize. So all the best to Penang chapter, and I really miss my nasi kandar as well. Some of you healthy nasi kandar should be not coming back to KL with a food poisoning. Take care. Thank you, one and all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave. You're also a nasi kandar fan. I think you brought up a very good, very interesting part on to educate the tourists about the food, its origin, and what is inside the food. I mean, how is it made and the recipe and all these things. I think this is something that is very interesting. Yes, I would agree. Penang, their cafes, their food, and their restaurant are much more far than or better than what we have in other parts of Malaysia. And this is something that I have seen and I have experienced because I'm a food lover. I travel to Penang to have my nasi kandar and also cendol. So now I will hand over the floor to Dr. Razif. To Mel. Mel is a good friend of mine from. He's changing now. Mel or Dr. Razif? Okay, Mel. Mel is a good friend of mine. He's a chef worked in the food service industry from Philippines. A great guy. I knew him since 2014. He has been very helpful, and I would say that he comes out with very interesting topics. Very interesting topics. So Mel, over to you, and let's hear from Mel from the Philippines.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Mel, and I'm from the Philippines. My topic for today is food touristic. It is an insight on what is tomorrow for the food industry. Let me first talk about the global trends. The trends that have shaped because of the COVID-19. The COVID-19 had reshaped the way food is prepared, the way food is appreciated. Now, globally, there are three trends: uprising and coming up trends that will influence the future of food or culinary. Because of COVID, everybody became so conscious about their health. So, therapeutic cookery is becoming very popular and is expected to have a significant share in the market of culinary arts. Therapeutic cookery is going back to the basic. It is the same way as food is prepared many years or millions of years ago when food is used to heal people. Therapeutic cookery is the use of natural ingredients to heal certain illnesses or to help alleviate certain condition or to help prevent certain illnesses. Alongside is it's been with us for a while, for a long time, it's diet and nutrition. However, because of COVID, people became more conscious, became more aware. So one of the most significant changes in culinary arts global trend is a more interest in health food. The next one is convenience and technology. Of course, we all experienced that during the pandemic, people were ordering food online. It increased the volume of business of food delivery. But alongside also is an upcoming trend, which is contactless. Here comes vendo machines. They have already started this in Singapore, where there are, and even in Japan has been for a long time. In Singapore, there are areas where vendo machines are available and people just get their food from vendo machine. I believe that this would become one of the significant changes in convenience and technology food. Next is ready to cook food or frozen foods. People, because of the pandemic, people were seized in their homes and people grew interest in cooking. However, many also have preferred buying frozen food. So these are the three emerging trends under convenience and technology. The next major global trend is new flavors and experience. Fusion. We all know what is fusion, but fusion is increasing because of people's desire, or they want new flavors, they want experience in their food. Texture. It's traditional dishes prepared with certain improvements. Example, rendang can be as a topping on congee. And then we have molecular gastronomy. Molecular gastronomy has been with us for a long time. It's called the modernist cuisine. But there's an upcoming trend now where molecular gastronomy penetrated and influenced traditional cuisines. One example is the Japanese cuisine prepared with molecular gastronomy techniques. It provides flavor and it provides experience. And we have freestyle inspirational dishes. It influences people to be more creative, to put in their own personal touches in certain dishes, to create their own recipe. So these are the three trends that will influence the global trends on food: health, therapeutic cookery and diets and nutrition, convenience and technology, online, contactless, ready to cook, new flavors, fusion, traditional food with certain textures, molecular gastronomy adapted on traditional cuisine, and freestyle inspirational dishes. You see, food has food has taken a new step. It leveled up. It cannot be taken from the same way that it was before the pandemic. People now look for certain dynamics in culinary. They want healthy food, prepared with sanitation and with the right way to handle food. They want convenience and technology. They want experience. Experience will play a long way along with new flavors. It will excite people. It will even excite people to go out again and patronize culinary tourism. The next topic I want to discuss is education. Education in culinary arts involves senses. It went through a very difficult challenges during the pandemic. It went through tough road during the pandemic. There were restrictions and uncertainties that compelled schools. Like in my case, my schools, I had 11 schools, all closed down because of the pandemic. It is hard for us to convert culinary into digital courses because it involves senses. One of the tough challenges we had are academically stranded students. We could not continue students for them to complete their studies because of certain restrictions and uncertainties. We face higher operational costs. We had to hire more people with less students because of the social distancing, and again with restrictions and uncertainties. We converted the general subjects in digital classes. However, social media had affected our enrollment because of the many videos of culinary teaching in Facebook and because of restrictions and uncertainties. Now, because of the easing of the restrictions, and but still with certain uncertainties, schools are slowly adapting to post-pandemic culinary environment. We have adopted health protocol, which of course have affected the number of our students. We translated our general subjects in digital format, but still they had to go on hands-on. We have to put in new skill sets for our students to be competitive. And we have to encourage students to take more management courses for them to be competitive in the culinary arts world. But beyond this pandemic, I believe that it is the right time to seize this opportunity. Culinary arts has been unregulated. Anyone who graduates culinary or anyone with an experience call themselves chefs. For culinary arts education to prosper once again, and for the culinary arts industry to help the economies of the countries, or to help economies, the government and the industry must join hands to support the culinary arts industry. It is the right time to regulate this profession. Anyone can be a chef, anyone calls themselves a chef, but none among, or very few of them, are highly qualified. I think for the culinary arts industry to prosper, the government should impose regulation. It's time to have licensed chefs, chefs who are licensed, chefs who are proficient, chefs who are qualified, chefs who really know what they are doing. They know the kitchen sanitation, food safety, they know the right techniques. Not anyone can be a chef unless they would qualify for the license. And if we have licensed chefs, and all restaurants and hotels would mandate that they hire licensed chefs for their kitchen, or licensed executive chef at least, then people will go back again to culinary arts schools. people would want to be would want to be chefs again. But unless we do this, and everybody can be a chef, anyone who watches videos on YouTube can call themselves a chef, and the industry would not prosper back to where it was prior to the pandemic. Along with this regulation of the profession would come the emerging segments. One of the most promising segment is the culinary arts segment. Here comes the trends that I discussed earlier. Here comes beautifully created food in convenience format, in convenience packs. Here comes experience of different texture in traditional food. It will attract people, although not international travelers because of these restrictions, but the domestic tourism will help culinary through culinary tourism. But we have to give them something that will excite them. And for the culinary arts to prosper once again, the government and the industry should join forces and implement regulation of this profession. It's high time that chefs are given the right respect, chefs are given the right stage. It's high time that chefs are as professional as lawyers, doctors, and so on. And that concludes my discussion about food touristic, education, and global trends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel, from Philippines. Thank you very much for the presentation. You brought up a few interesting points. One of it, the name chef being used by individuals. I think this is something that once I had a discussion with Chef Audi, the Penang Chef Association, and he was also sharing his thoughts. This industry, people have to understand that it is a very professional industry. I can share in Malaysia, when you go to the schools and you say that you want to recruit people for hospitality or culinary arts, the counselors in the school always ask you to go to the last class. So they always think that this program is for individuals who have not excelled in their education. So this is a mindset that has to be changed. This is where that industry players, associations have to voice out to educate individuals who are joining this program, to make them very clear to understand that this is not a program for failures. This is something that has to be done. The second is using the name of chef. Most of them who go and study after two years of a diploma or a degree, they always believe or think that they are a chef. Sometimes when you talk to students, you ask them what is your ambition, they always say they want to become a master chef. But how to reach there, that is something that a journey that they have to discover. It is not told to them. They only know it is master chef. All of them want to be master chef. But how you want to be a master chef, this is something that is quite difficult. So this is something that I think it is a very good point that you brought up. And the other area that you mentioned about social media and online teaching for this culinary program, it is a challenge. Yes, but I think with the new norm, this is something that we have to look at. We have to get these things moving, and because with the new pandemic, I mean with the pandemic there, we have come borderless, and this is something is an advantage, but also the disadvantage is how we want to teach these programs. Okay, so thank you, Mel, for bringing up these points. And this is the last speaker, Dr. Razif, another, I call him the icon of tourism, a good friend of mine, who always oblige last minute requests, and I thank him for it. Keeping in mind next time I won't disturb him on a Tuesday. And he's from UITM. He's also the president of the Tourism Educators Association Malaysia. and also the consultant to the Institute of Business Excellence. So I pass the floor to Dr. Razif now. Over to you, Dr. Razif.
Thank you, Dr. Sri. I hope I'm audible to all of you. Assalamualaikum. Good morning to my friends, my new friends here like Tuan Haji Muhammad, as well as Chef Odi. Good morning, Rushdie, and also Mr. Divya. Apa khabar semua? And also mabuhay to Mel from the Philippines. And today, today I would like to just give a little bit about this food tourism, because I think this is one of what I call it culinary tourism or food tourism. I think it's quite an interesting topic that have been brought by iPORTAL. And let me share my screen. Okay, just a little bit, because of we only have about 10 minutes to brought up the new issue. So I think one of the questions that maybe we can try to tap into after this post-pandemic is that maybe we can look into this COVID-19 situation, because we talk about this new normal and how normalcy will be restored and what will be the post-pandemic tourism after this, especially to the elderly individuals, because we want to tap, for example, in Malaysia, we want to tap the quality travelers, because there are much discussions on the millennials, but somehow at the end of the day, we have to look into what is the contribution of every segment. For example, elderly had been one of the, one of the sought after or one of the most attractive segments, because of they have the purchasing power and also they spend more. But somehow we need to address the issue that might occur in the future. For example, we want to attract not only the elderly, but also the high spending travelers, because it could be from other segments as well. So that's why it is important for us today to understand the post-pandemic behavior and the potential branding that may attract border tourists. Because like what had been discussed, or maybe the plan in the pipeline from the government or from G2G between Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, we talk about this reciprocal green lane, or the what call it, the vaccine travel lane. So that's why I would say that maybe we have to focus more on this border tourists. Okay, so that's why this is something that we have been, just a simple survey that my friend from Indonesia and Thailand, we distribute the questionnaire to the elderly, travelers. And from there, what we can say that from these inputs, when we tabulate the data, so there are more no to yes. So what will be their travel motive after this post-pandemic? So most of them said that only 2% said they travel after this post-pandemic because of to escape. And about 90% said that they will revisit the destination to recall memories. Maybe there will be a new scenario or totally new environment in that particular destination. For example, when you go to Bangkok nowadays, even though they are currently open to the international travelers, but somehow maybe things look different, right? And to learn new things. But interestingly, only two favor, this feedback from the elderly, when they say that they want to visit after this post-meet for rest, relaxation, and also to visit new places. So this open to the new opportunities to us. If let's say we want to concentrate on culinary tourism, so what kind of products that we can see, maybe we can open, because in Malaysia, definitely we can see in the domestic tourism, people travel because of the viral foods, viral restaurants. People tend to go like certain miles just to taste the viral foods. Okay, so and 94% out of this feedback that we received said that they will travel within 1 to 5 days. So meaning, how can we package the product, especially definitely they need food for this 5 days itinerary, but somehow we have to make sure that it will benefit all segments, all industries or sub-industries in the food tourism. And this is mooted by Hall and Sharples in 2013, but we can revisit, for example, number of tourists that go to the particular location and for food tourism. And you can see that for gourmet tourism and gastronomic tourism, the number of tourists is not as high as if you compare with rural or urban tourism. So that's why the interest, for example, if you look at this, you can see that high interest in the gastronomic tourism. People travel to the destination with the primary motive to visit specific restaurants, market, or winery. So this is totally different, because if you look at the data, they can say that most of them spend more on other expenditure segment as compared to food. So that's why, how can we change that? How can we change for just peripheral, expenditures to one of the important or critical expenditures when they want to visit this post-pandemic? So we can say that maybe when they go to the destination, they have low interest in food, but somehow we want to change that. We want to flip this graph. And for the traveling arrangement, this post-pandemic, we can say that from the data that we analyzed, 22% will arrange individually. So meaning that they will arrange by themselves, becoming the free independent travelers. And then 25% will use package tours. And 53% from the border tourism, especially from Thailand, Indonesia, they will use tour company. So it opens to this collaborative effort between all the industry players to package, to give what best for us. For example, if we were to emphasize on this culinary tourism, and from there, you also need to take into account that 45% of them spend below 500 ringgit. So they will spend this post-pandemic only about 500 ringgit per day, and we have to take in we have to also take into account that the amount of spending will also cater for the accommodation as well as shopping, retail shopping, and other type of expenditures. So that's why I would say that it is important what kind of products that we want to give, as well as can we say that we can achieve the return on investment. Let's say they will spend only 100 ringgit for food, and average spending is about 2,500 in Malaysia for the 5 days itinerary. So it is important for us here today to look into this matter. And from the figure also, only 31% mentioned that they eat local food. And most of them, for example, from Thailand people, they will always look into their food, the Thai food when they go, Tom Yum and all the Thai food when they visit Malaysia. Even though we have other products, other food, local foods that we want them to taste, but this is, we have to change, And then from the total, for example, just now I mentioned to you, when they visit Malaysia, they will spend about 2,500 ringgit, and 45% of that figure will be spent on accommodation. So that's why, the share becomes smaller for them to spare to spend into this food or culinary. So that's why, before I end my discussion today, I would like to say that this food and food connected business is vital for us to establish local identities and also to authenticating the hypothetical link between food and identity, because it is important. During these 2 years, maybe we are quite detached from each other, but somehow we have to start holding hand, and we have to think what best for us to start promoting this local food, and we want to bring the best out of the local identity and want to demonstrate it to the people outside there. And this must be transpired, or this must be showcased in the branding as well as in the promotion of all the advertisement material. So that's the first important point that we have to discuss. And second one is food tourism has much promise. So like today, from what being mentioned by Mel and also by fellow speakers, so you have been highlighting all the important characteristics of food tourism, and that's why we must say that we must come to conclusion that the tourist infrastructure must create favorable circumstances for this food tourism to thrive. And a strategy ought to be adopted and executed to ensure that we will improve and develop food tourism. Maybe we have to come up with a star rating, or maybe we have to come up with different threshold or different way of assessing the successfulness of the local food. So there are many new ideas that we can start gathered for us to make sure this food tourism will thrive in the near future. And I would say for that, that concludes my presentation, and I hope it can benefit to this discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Sri.
Thank you, Dr. Razif. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting statistics that you brought out of the FIT of 500 ringgit, and what's the percentage? 21% is the one that they spend on food, and also you have the travel group of 2005. So this is something that is very interesting to know that. But the most important that we know that it is very promising, that culinary tourism is a way forward. It is one of the way forward for Malaysia to promote and to get tourists into the country. So we in iPORTAL and also with DHS, on the 25th we have our event in the island of Bintan. 26th we are having our program in Pahang, the state of Pahang, and 29 in Indonesia, again in Padang, and 30th is safe tourism. Safe tourism is something that is very interesting. We have people from the airlines who is going to talk, and we also have speakers from Indonesia, and two speakers from US, and one from Singapore, and one from Philippines. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining this webinar today, and wish you all the best, and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you, everybody.
Thank you, Chef.